Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. How are we? Let's try that again. How are we? Thank you. I want to welcome all of our guests. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to welcome our students. So welcome, students. This is your very first data science speaker series of the academic year. So welcome to all of you. My name is Elizabeth Merkel. I am the director of the Data Institute, which is the organization that oversees all of the data science programming and research that happens here at the University of San Francisco. So again, a very big welcome to you. In addition to our speaker, just a quick sort of housekeeping announcement. In addition to our speaker today, we'll also be hearing from Professor Mahesh Chowdhury, who would like to speak to the students about the data engineering concentration. So that will happen. We're going to have the speaker talk. There will be Q&A, and then we'll hear from Mahesh for a few minutes about that. And then you can approach the speaker afterwards if you have any follow-up questions, or Professor Mahesh. So, I'm really excited today because we actually first met Sean last year when he spoke at our data science conference. And we're really excited because, well, welcome back, Sean.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we're also incredibly pleased because we can share that he is hoping to work with some of you this year as part of the Practical Project program. So that's also very exciting. A little bit more about Sean. Sean McCurdy is the founder of hyprbm, an advertising service specializing in generative AI. He is a leading authority in machine learning technologies with expertise in recommender systems, self-supervision, reinforcement learning, large language models, and privacy-preserving machine learning. Prior to starting hyprbm, Sean served as the chief scientific officer at Technicus Labs, where he led efforts in the diagnosis and outcome prediction of psychiatric diseases. He also spearheaded the measurement modeling and ads quality data science team at Pinterest, where his innovative matching technology generated over $300 million in additional revenue. Sean earned his PhD in Bioinformatics from the University of Toronto as a Vanier Scholar and holds 2 patents in machine learning and its biological applications. So, we are super excited to learn from you today, Sean. Let's give him a round of applause.
Well, thank you for the introduction. It's very humbling to be here. One thing that I think is really important about data science is that the difference between engineering and data science to me is that data science covers more focusing on problems, engineering focuses on functions. So this is a data science audience. We have to establish the problem statements. But before we begin, I have a couple of requests. The first is, we're gonna talk about ads, okay? Keep an open mind. We've all experienced ads in our daily lives, all around us. The thesis of today is, can ads actually be a good thing? And the last is participate. There's a ton of people in here, and I want to make this crowd as small as possible. So raise your hand, ask me questions. I'll be asking for people's opinions, so please get in there. It's a lot better if we have a shared narrative on this presentation rather than just me talking for the entire time. So we're going to talk about ads, potentially why it could be a good thing. We know why it could be a bad thing. And we're going to look at the technology that helps move people to action. So we're going to cover basically 2 things. What the problem is, an introduction, and then kind of the technology that we're using to try to solve that problem. Okay, so what is a good ad? What is a bad ad? So let's get into it. So everywhere we go, there are ads. Any place where people are there, where they can see it, or they're making a decision, there's going to be an ad. And the reason for that is ads want to remind people to do things. So we have one in the top corner, very provocative. There's actually a lot of psychology behind that called terror management theory, which like gets people this idea of death, and people change their psychology as a result of that. I really like this one here in the corner, where it talks about like it's 102 reasons to refresh yourself. So it really provides like a good context. If you've ever been in a Lyft or Uber and you've seen those like iPads, who's seen one of those? Okay, keep your hands up if you hate it. Okay, cool. I hate it so much. It's like, I don't want to see the same game or trailer for that movie that I hate. Probably the more common ones that we've seen are these ones up here on Instagram, where we would see like, shop now or download this app. And then also probably we would do searches for Google. We see there's a ton of ads if we search for things all along those lines. And I hate these, that they come in the mail and there's like these Bed Bath & Beyond, like 20% off things. And actually even people who do like crazy feats like doing an Ironman will get things like tattooed to themselves and display it as part of their identity. So ads are all around us. It's part of our identity. It's part of the decisions that we make all the time. Okay, why do ads suck? Anyone want to take a first stab at this? Okay, in the back, yes.
I feel like most of the times they try to persuade us to do something that we're not really trying to do.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yes?
They're pervasive, like we can't avoid them.
Can't avoid them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They interrupt our shows.
What you watching these days? Yeah, back there.
It's just part of the consumerist culture that you need to buy.
Yes, one thing that I noticed is that European culture seems to be less consumer oriented. So when you go around, there's actually a lot more peace. American culture, there's like billboards everywhere. Anyone else? Yes, over there.
Ads are not delightful, it breaks the customer flow through the process.
That's right, yeah. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why ads suck. Here's a few that I thought of. They can be irrelevant. They can be offensive. How many people have seen those like ads that pop up of just like a person who's like overweight? There's things with body shaming. This was a whole issue with Abercrombie & Fitch. American Eagle was one of the innovators in trying to look at different body sizes for people for their Aerie brand. I'm like trying to remember the name of it. If I'm not moving too much, by the way, it's because I went to like Pilates a couple days ago, and it's truly a difficult thing to do. So my mobility might be a little bit limited. They can be invasive. We talked about that. Products can be inappropriate. They can be misleading. Some of them can be really manipulative, and honestly, they can be pretty annoying. Okay. So we're gonna watch a few ads, and bear with me on this one. So let's give this a shot, and we're gonna discuss them just to get a sense of what are the good things, what are the bad things. Okay. So let's give this a shot. Okay.
Sometimes the little things last the longest. Give extra, get extra.
I like that. Okay, let's get into the other mixes of this one. The Peloton ad.
Okay, you ready?
Now. A Peloton! Give it up for our first time
All
ride!
right, first ride. I'm a little nervous, but excited. Let's do this. 5 days in a row. You surprised? I am. 6 a.m. Yay.
Rising with the sun.
That was totally worth it.
Let's go race Boston 50 ride.
She just said my name. A year ago, I didn't realize how much this would change me. Thank you.
This holiday, give the gift of Peloton.
I have strong thoughts on that one. We'll talk about them in a second. All right, and this is the last one.
Mike, what's your deal, man?
Come on, man, you've been riding me all day.
Like, you're playing like Betty White out there.
That's not what your girlfriend said. You Snickers? Better?
That hurt. You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfies.
All right, let's get back into it. I really like that one. So let's talk about those ads. So what do people think? Which ones do they like? Which ones do they hate? Yes.
I love the extra ad. It's so it's just so cute. You feel like you see the family. I don't know. And you see, it's like, it really is the little moments that matter, right? And then extra is just like, it doesn't feel like it's in your face. It doesn't feel like it's really trying to like push the gum on you. It feels like you're following this like story.
Yeah. In the back.
The ad I wouldn't mind seeing multiple times, and we almost have no choice about that, is that ad for those reasons. The product being advertised is almost irrelevant to the joy of watching it, and in fact, any gum comes in that wrapper, so it's really, to me, it's not an ad for a gum. The Betty White ad would be fun to watch because it's cute, it's clever, it's Betty White. And the Snickers, the middle ad.
The Peloton?
Yeah, I would not be happy watching it multiple times. Again, it has nothing to do with the product.
Yeah, the interesting thing is like obviously Juicy Fruit, even a lot of the other spearmint gum, they all have that wrapper. What's really beautiful about it is that it takes a very emotional relationship between a father and a daughter, and it puts a product in that narrative. And I think that's something that makes it beautiful to me. Yeah, I'm back.
This is like about the first ad, the extra ad. I understand it might be nice to watch at first, but back home we've had quite a few of these ads go on the come up.
Yeah.
And at this point, when I watch that kind of ad, I feel really manipulated. Like I watch it and I feel annoyed.
Which one specifically? Was it the first one?
The first one, the extra ad. I'm like, that sort of story.
Like, how dare they?
It's okay.
Yeah.
So I think I chime with the first ad, the extra ad. I mean, I get the point that it's like, it could be any gum in that wrapper.
Yeah.
But there's something really sticky about the way they, like you said, they attributed the gum to the bonding between a father and daughter. I think that's a bonding that sticks. The product doesn't really come to.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, over there.
Yeah. So for the extra ad, I really didn't like that there was no diversity in it, right? And I also didn't like that it was like making throughout the entire ad, I'm just thinking about okay, all of these wrappers and sentimental tokens, they're actually just in a landfill somewhere, right? The whole ad is showcasing how much weight
It's really interesting. So the middle app is kind of interesting for that specific point on diversity. You have this have you if you look at the house, they got marble finishes. It's at least 3,000 square feet. It's they shopped at West Elm and stuff like that. It's a pretty wealthy family, and it's you want to try to empathize with this person, but you're just you're so privileged.
Yes.
I feel like the last one has the best brand.
I think that's because like we mentioned before that the extra ad, there's been ads that have kind of replicated that, or maybe they replicated that before, where it's like a super emotional story and then you like put a product into this storyline. But I think like with the Snickers ad, I think it's like very well known that it's like, oh, eat a Snickers, like you're not yourself kind of a thing. And so I think like that one had the best like brand recognition.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, over there.
I think I like the first and last ad, the fact that it brings emotion. So I think when I watch ad, I don't care if it's like super beautiful or super provocative or like funny. Like the first and third ad, it makes us respond to that, while the second one, it's just kind of like background noise, things that I would like to skip. And regarding like whether I'm attracted to certain ads, I think the third one is the one that I will be interested to continue without skipping in the first 5 seconds. While the first one, I would skip it because I'm not gonna watch it.
You want to know where it goes? It's like an old lady playing football.
Yeah. No, it's just like what happens. Like it's interesting. There's like this lady, you know.
Yeah.
So it gets the hook.
Yeah. One more. Yes.
I think for me, one of the things that annoyed me the most about the gum ad, I think we touched upon earlier, is that like there's something to me that's inherently scummy about making that evocative feeling for family and emotion, and then just throwing product at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the tricky part, right? So the middle ad, the Peloton one, had a lot of controversy, and it was specifically what I was talking about before about it being really privileged and just landing so flat with the audiences. So if you actually go online and search like Peloton ad, this ad will come up and it'll talk about all the news and controversy that came up with it because of how poorly it landed with the average person who's going to start a Peloton isn't going to be like this very wealthy woman, attractive woman who's going to be doing this. Like we're all like normal people. We gotta try to work out, right? I want you guys to notice the difference. So one thing that when you see a TV ad, they don't really know that much about you. They know that there's a certain demographic of people, certain age group, certain gender, certain sexual preference, certain race that watches this like specific television station. So all they can really hope for is trying to be memorable, that you remember it, that it has some way of emotionally resonating to you, whether that's funny, whether that's sad, it's angry, or they try to take these moments with like these really human moments and try to make it something that is unique. There's like this, there was this ad I remember seeing, it was like a Chipotle ad, and basically it was like this farmer was building his farm, and he was like trying to industrialize his farm. And there was like pigs were in these pens, and they were going through all these machines, and at the very end of it, the guy made money, right? And he was really happy that he made money. But then he had this moment of like thinking to himself, like, is this really what I want? And it has a song from Coldplay, The Scientist, from Coldplay, and it's like there's a part of the song that goes back to the start. So they go back to the start, and he does everything where all these cows and chickens are able to roam free. It's a really beautiful narrative on the kinds of farmers that Chipotle would sort of pursue. If you go into your own private time and you like watch this thing, it's actually like a really moving ad. It's almost like a movie. But okay, let's get into actually what ads look like nowadays. We're past that era. We're in social media. It means we know everything about you. We know what your interests are. We know what your demographic is. We know everything about you. And we have sophisticated algorithms to target things to you. Ads look a little different nowadays. I'm gonna see if this plays here. This is kind of like what ads look like now. You have influencers who are going, trying restaurants, and
HL Peninsula.
HL Peninsula is paying this influencer to do this like video.
The audience is fantastic.
This doesn't seem like an ad.
It's taking off through their massive work to say hundreds. Plus, there's no need to wait in line for dim sum because not many people know they serve it yet. You can even order some of their high-quality seafood specialties. It's also basically an requirement for Asian parents. Just look at how happy my boy is.
Okay, as a short thing, that's also my co-founder. Low-key plug. Please follow and subscribe. All right. Okay, so ads are messages. And the message is to get someone to do something or think about something differently. Obviously, if you're getting one of those ads that you see almost every day on YouTube from Kamala Harris or the ones on Instagram, those ones are like everywhere now. It's really about thinking about something different and calling to action about how you vote. But there are so many different things that can be done. The key word today is do. All of this is about doing stuff. So either doing more of something, doing less of something, doing it again, doing it now, doing it later, doing it differently. So how can ads be good? They're manipulative, they're intrusive. Some of them can emotionally resonate, but the reality is, well, how can they be really a good thing? Well, I think it's because people like to window shop. And let's just have a look at restoration hardware here. Okay. Please humor me because I think I really like furniture stuff. I'm at the point in my life. But when people go through basically catalogs, this whole thing is an ad, right? But it's beautiful in the way that it's constructed. It's like you're seeing all these different pillows and couches, and look at this chair. It's probably really uncomfortable, but it looks beautiful. But this whole thing is an ad, but we like to look through it because the pictures are pretty. So when I was working at Pinterest, we looked at the distribution of the people who search for things versus the people who browse for things. What do you guys think? Do you think people more search for things, or do you think more people browse? Browse. They browse. It's like 70% browse. People are just flipping through their app, they're just looking at pretty pictures. The reality is people like to browse, people like to see what other people are up to. Okay, let's get back to it here. Okay. So it really comes back to doing. But doing comes from wanting. You want to do something. You may want to go out and play pickleball. You may want to go out and go see your friends and go to HL Peninsula in South Bay. But the idea is that in order to go from wanting to doing, you can buy something. Buying is part of the journey of doing. And in some cases, it can be manipulative if you insert that in there. But in other cases, it can actually help people fulfill. You can't play pickleball if you haven't bought a pickleball paddle, right? You need to buy things a lot of times to do the things that you want to do. Buying is part of the journey of going out there and doing things and living the life that you love. If you love to cook, you have to go and get groceries. These are all important elements of doing. Ads provide a mechanism of connecting those two things together. But when it does it in a way that is irrelevant or invasive, it feels wrong. But when it's congruent with the journey that you want, it's very much welcomed. And that's the point of an ad. An ad will try to show you doing something so that you want it, so then you buy it. In the first ad we looked at extra gum, we saw that there's a father and a daughter having interaction. And because of that, they're doing something together. And the extra gum provides that connection between the wanting and the doing. In the second one, we saw a person trying to use the Peloton, trying to get more fit. They want to get more fit, and part of the mechanism of doing that is buying a Peloton. And in the last one, they want to play football with their friends, but you don't want to be tired when you're playing with your friends. You want to have energy. And a Snicker bar can be a conduit for doing something. It's all about doing something. And to get people to do something, they need to be aware of it. They need to be able to consider what the options are, evaluate what's available, and then take an action on it. And we go through this funnel all the time. And you're probably wondering at this point, I've talked a lot about ads and nothing about data science. So I'm gonna pivot really hard into tech. Because all of this together is what the problem is. Data science is about identifying the problems. And the technology is a mechanism to solve those problems. So we know that there's an issue with ads. We know there's a lot of them. We know that there's a lot of over monetization that's going on. So how do we do this right today? How do we do it right in the future? And I'm hoping to provide a narrative on how we can do that. But before we get into that, we have to understand a little bit about what an ad serving funnel is, how it works, and how this modern technology of social media works. So Pinterest, Snapchat, Meta, Google, they all use a very, very similar funnel. So if anyone here is interested in working for those companies and you land on an ads team, you're gonna learn this in a much worse way because there's no documentation. So if you're interested in working there, please listen up. This is the stuff that will help you on your first day. One is you have to know who you're gonna target. So there's demographics, there's interests, there's keywords. You have to know the creative, which ad format it could be video, it could be slideshow. What content, what's in it? We saw like the content could be that narrative. Who is the advertiser? So we saw Extra Gum, we saw Peloton, we saw Snickers. So even if we have eligibility criteria, we have where that machine learning comes in, the nuts and bolts, is all in taking hundreds of millions of ads and trying to figure out which is the right one for you, or which is the right one for you. How do we go through so many things in an instant to determine the right exact moment to send that ad to you? It's incredibly amazing how so many machine learning pipelines are gone through in just nanoseconds or milliseconds. And obviously, if you hit people with ads all day, they're gonna get annoyed, but they will be more likely to convert the reality of it. And the last thing is that somebody ultimately has to pay the bill. If you're not paying for YouTube Premium, you're getting ads. So you're the product, and you've heard this narrative before, but how much are advertisers willing to spend for your attention? And it's really not that much money. So the important message here to learn is that there's a really complicated machinery that is required in order to make those moments really, really personalized. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about what my company does, and it's really simple. How many here have used ChatGPT? Okay, so this is like ChatGPT. You have a user query, you have an AI query. What do? We just throw that thing in the bottom. And as a result, if you host this, you make money. Now, if you do this wrongly, it can be really annoying, right? But the whole purpose of this talk is to show how generative technologies, reinforcement learning technologies, and recommender system technologies all provide a really unique moment to make ads here actually truly good. So why now? Program and marketing is oversaturated, and it's uninspiring. Look at this. Product white backgrounds, all these ads. That's very different than what we saw with restoration hardware. Let's go back to that, because that is actually pretty inspiring. I want to have my house laid out, but do I really want to buy this shoe? Not really. I want to see it on me. I want to see what I would look like if I had like my favorite jacket on. That's more inspiring to me because I could see myself in the product. The other problem is that AI companies are struggling to monetize. If anyone here is thinking about doing an AI startup, it's very competitive and it's really volatile. Okay, I know this because I'm in it right now. But for me, it's a unique opportunity, obviously, because we're all about helping companies monetize. And the last thing is the generative AI technology. Who here has used like Stable Diffusion or Midjourney or DALL-E or any of those technologies? Okay, Who have, and for the people who have used ChatGPT as well. Okay, so if you haven't used any of these technologies, give it a shot. It's pretty amazing. So even now we're starting to see, let's see if this works. So then we have text to image, we have text to video, and this is ControlNet. So this basically works by, you put in a seed image, and then you can generate different images from the original seed image. And you can do the same thing too with different poses, and you can control the way that it's generated. Okay, so what could the future of ads look like? Well, on the rightmost side, let's say you ask for a recipe. You can, instead of just saying, well, let's have Moscow Mule, it would say specifically, let's say 11 vodka, or specifically a Moscow Mule mug that you can buy from Target. If you want to say, let's upgrade my furniture, so this is an apartment, you can actually replace all the different components here. So you can have a new bookshelf, a new couch, and a new coffee table. And my favorite is, how would it work in a video?
What is that?
So the idea is that ads in the future will look a lot different because they can be generated on the fly using these generative technologies. Now that you can put your home in and try to find different furniture. You can put in whatever recipes you want and get products that are easily available and create a shopping list. Or when you generate images, when you say like, hey, I want a photo of me driving a really cool car and it has a picture of a Mercedes or a BMW. All of these things are ways in which a person can envision themselves in products. So there's a unique opportunity for it. So how do we bring it together? So let's get into how friggin' complicated this is gonna get from a data science and machine learning perspective. So our customers, they send us the content, they send us things like the history from their chats, they send us timestamps, they send us their user information, they send the platform information. And ultimately we have to decide, are we gonna place an ad? And we have to do this really, really quickly. But I'm curious, why wouldn't we place an ad, let's say in a ChatGPT output? Is there any reasons anyone can think of? Yeah, in the back.
I assume there's a cost to generate
There's
ads.
definitely a cost.
The question is it worth it?
Yes, so if you're, let's say you're using GPT-4o, I think, yeah, GPT-4o, you're looking at maybe like 60 million, or it's like $60 per million tokens or something like that. If you generate an ad that's too long, you're basically cutting off your profit from the generation. And if you do it too often, people aren't converting on every single ad that you send. It's like sub 1% conversion rates. So yes, the cost is very real. Anyone else? Yeah.
It can disincentivize like the further pursuit of that question the person's asking. Like,
Yes.
That's basically interrupting it, like in order to lead to the next question.
I'll give you an example. So a lot of the users that we have, some are in Morocco, and some people are asking about, somebody, I want to like edit a little bit because it could get too strange. Some people ask like, why are they distressed or why are they sad? Like, do you really want to see an ad when you're talking about like your mental health? That's a really good point because it could be really inappropriate. And if you send an ad and it breaches the trust of the person, a person's not going to come back to the platform. And for me, that means that they can't consume more ads. So I have to think about the long-term picture of retaining a person, but also trying to find opportunities to find good products for them. Yeah.
So like he says in ChatGPT at the bottom you get like some prompts.
Yep.
And I was thinking like maybe a compromise could be like having a tiny little prompt that says like, do you want some help with examples for this?
Yeah.
That would be better than like just inserting it right away because that would absolutely make someone feel like, why is this here?
Yeah, so Perplexity AI, they have a great UI for this. So if anyone's used Perplexity, similar as ChatGPT, but they're more like search oriented, more generative search oriented. And they have like links and like follow-up questions that you can like click on. Yeah, anyone else in terms of this? Okay. There's a lot of reasons. There's spam, bots, there's suspicious activity, there's regulatory compliance. Like for example, if you are a kid in the UK, I cannot send you an ad. There's geographical restrictions. Obviously, some products might not be available in Morocco. And there's also brand safety. If I'm searching for, different gun types, should the next Pixar movie be inserted there? Disney would be probably pretty pissed if they had their brand associated with things like guns or rifles or things like that. So all of these things are really important to ensure that the environment is good. And all of these are separate data science teams to try to solve. Now, let's say we do want to insert it. We have to figure out the intention of the person. We have to figure out the context of the person. We have to figure out the user features. Is this person male, female, or other? Is this person older or younger? Is this person interested in hiking? Are they interested in travel? What are they specifically interested in? And a lot of times, ads are just not readable because people don't speak the language the ad is in. And to truly create a global phenomena, you have to be able to localize. And I think generative technology actually provides a mechanism to do this on the fly. So the way this works is once you embed the intention, you can basically go into a product vector store. So who here has heard of RAG systems? Okay, let me give a brief explanation. Okay, so RAG is called, it stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. The way that it works is somebody sends a query. So this is like, help me build a computer, okay? When it says help me build a computer, you have to convert that query into numbers. So you convert that query into numbers using an embedding model. So you guys probably learned about like, what's like the old school ones, like glove or BERT. The more modern ones are now, I guess there's like universal sentence transformers. There's a lot of things like the embedding models from Mini LM is another recent one. But basically all these models, they basically turn the query into numbers. And then what you do is you do the same thing with all your products. So you get all the product names, all the product descriptions, you turn them into numbers, and you just determine the distance between them. The ones that are closer are semantically similar, and then you can retrieve them, and then that's the way that you can do search very effectively. There's some like pros and cons of it, but we can get into that later. Once you retrieve all the products, they have to go through this funnel. Are they eligible? Which one should retrieve based on relevance? What is the probability of different engagements? Likes, clicks, scrolls, buys, add to carts, signups, hides, reports, all of those things. And then we have run an auction considering the overall utility, how useful this is to the person. And then we insert an ad. So we take all this information and then we run Q&A. Because obviously like, there's a lot of shit that can go wrong when you generate an ad on the fly. So we have to create like a mechanism to make sure it works. Okay, so retrieval. So when I was at Pins, this was probably like a 25, 30 person team. This is an insane problem. This is the team that tries to figure out how do you take 1 billion products and search them insanely fast and narrow them down to the top 200. So if you're getting a bad ad, it's probably because this sucks. So retrieval is probably the most important team when it comes to these things. The reason why Google was so good at the very beginning when it first started was because the retrieval was insanely effective because they use a PageRank algorithm to do their retrieval. Now Reddit is kind of interesting. I have friends at Reddit, and Reddit, the way that they do retrieval is using a candidate generation system. So Pinterest, they basically have, they use a DNN model to do the retrieval, so it's a lot more sophisticated because we have a huge inventory. Reddit is different. Reddit basically uses a candidate generation system. So they look at what are the most engaging threads, what are the most engaging interests, which posts are trending right now, which communities have the person looked in the past. And to be honest with you, it's insanely fast because it's just a hash map lookup. And generally, this is like what a follow feed kind of looks like for people. It's not that like suggested content. So once you retrieve the top 200 from using something like that, you have to score it. And this is basically the heart and soul of all social media, TikTok, Instagram. They have to build something that's like this. If you look at papers from these companies, they all build some sort of like variant of this. So the way this works is you have user features. This could be like how active they're on the platform, what interests they have. We embed that, and then we also add features. What company is this? How many buys does the person have? How many likes? And then we put them together into sort of a two-tower model, and we do the dot product between the embeddings, and then we train it to determine probability of liking, clicking, hiding, buying, add to carts. And then we take the weighted average of that to get the utility, and we also include things like pacing and bid. This is a very complicated algorithm. It's very, very heavy. Retrieval is meant to be extremely light, so it's fast. This is much heavier. So if you're really deep into machine learning, the way to make this super effective is a process called distillation. Does anyone know what that is? Distillation? Yes?
I mean, I've heard of it in the context of language models, where you like use a larger model to train a smaller model on a specific use case.
Yes, that's exactly right. So there was a paper from Microsoft, I think it was last year. It was the Phi model. The Phi model, it was Phi 2, and they have Phi 3 now, but the Phi 2 model basically is an insanely small, low billion parameter model that has amazing performance. And they basically did it from distilling ChatGPT answers and creating synthetic data sets. It's truly a magnificent paper, and it underscores how you don't really need large models in order to get effective performance. Okay, so once we retrieve the top 200 or so, we have to rank them based on their utility, and then we create a floor that says if it's below this utility, we throw it out. If this floor is not done right, you're gonna see a lot of bad ads. And often, what happens is that the reason why you see shitty ads is because they make this floor as low as possible. Because if you make this floor higher, you run out of inventory. You can't place an ad. So in my time at Pins, what happened was all of the debates were on where this floor is. Because if you put it too high, you get shitty ads, or you get good ads, but you don't get as much monetization. But if you put it too low, you could get shitty ads and you get more monetization. And the reason why you're seeing more ads is because these tech companies, and this is my point of view, like these tech companies have to keep up with their earnings calls. They have to keep making more and more and more money. But the reality is the same amount of people are coming back, the same amount of engagement is happening, if not a little bit less. They have to figure out other ways. Either they give you more ads or they give you worse ads. And so this is what's happening, and this is why I think the time is right now to think about this differently. So once we find the top ads, we insert them into your chat app to generate them on the fly. Now the generation is kind of interesting. So in RAG, like I talked before, we used a semantic similarity to look up which products. But the reality is if you just use semantic similarity, you really lose out on all of the engagement data. You want to have that so that you're giving people content that's really interesting. So we can use, instead of semantic lookup, we use basically an ad serving funnel to retrieve. Okay, we're running close on time, so I'm just going to skip a couple parts here. Okay, so what's our vision for this? LLMs have incredibly strong intuition. You can think of a person who's like super excellent at bullshitting, okay? And they just get better and better and better and better at bullshitting. It's almost like you are presenting using a deck that you haven't seen before. And I'm not talking about anyone specifically right now. But LLMs have really strong intuition. And they have an amazing ability for zero-shot learning and zero-shot inference. They're qualitative. So instead of like models before where in recommender systems you'd have like, it'd give you a number, it can actually tell you something about the person. Well, it's not that they like soccer. It's like they like a specific kind of soccer and they like to play in a certain kind of way on a specific time. It's transparent. We can ask questions as to why it feels that way or why it said that. And it's all on creation. Recommender systems, on the other hand, are incredible at personalization. And they do this because they have a crap ton of data. So while LLMs have a huge sleuth of like pre-training that they can do, recommender systems actually require a lot of information from the platform. They're incredibly quantitative, so they're really good at making very fast decisions, but it's really difficult to explain them to people of why it works. And their job is more in curation. They give you really, really great content, and this is why TikTok was so effective. They got a bunch of guys together and girls, and they just figured out the best possible embedding for a video recommendation. They did video like no one else, and that's why they were able to rise to the top. So their recommendation system, their ability to embed video was what really transported them. So the combination of the two of them together creates this new idea of having a personalized LLM, creating a personality, creating things that are able to curate what you like. The combination of these two systems creates something that could be very new. But we're not done yet. There's another problem. We didn't solve the reasoning problem. We didn't solve the creativity. We need a reinforcement learning algorithm for that. Reinforcement learning algorithms can try and can do trial and error. And because they can learn from a trial and error, they have a new mechanism. Recommender systems don't know how to try. They know how to exploit. RL knows how to experiment. And if you combine all these things together, you have objective-driven LLMs. So the new idea, or the idea that I want to bring forward in this presentation is that there is a new kind of way that we can use LLMs. And I think the future of AGI is somehow laden in leveraging a lot of traditional technology as well as the new technology. And we're starting to see this already. The FAIR group at Meta came up with this paper for playing diplomacy by using the RL backend to LLMs. We saw this paper that was able to achieve Olympiad level solutions with Monte Carlo tree search and using self-refined with Llama. Just like a couple weeks ago, this paper came out from DeepSeek. DeepSeek is an insanely amazing coding model. This is one for mathematical proofs. And this is another one, Agent Q, from a company called Multion. This paper is truly amazing. It is a mixture of reinforcement learning, MCTS, and LLMs together. And you can see here that they achieved like 4x plus performance, 340% relative increase in performance because they're able to add all these different layers. The future of LLMs really stems from the mixture of these different systems that have their own unique advantages. But bringing it back, people don't use mathematical reasoning to buy things. They use emotional reasoning. They use conductive reasoning. They use analogical reasoning. No one is really working on this problem. And so that's what our vision is. So to end with kind of like a final note, when I went to Italy with my friends, my best friend, our travel itinerary was completely done using ChatGPT. It was a crazy experience. Could have gotten terribly wrong. We just did what it told us to do, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. We would have never thought of like hiking in Cinque Terre along the Italian Riviera. We would have never thought of getting like raspberry gelato and going up this massive tower in Lucca that had all these trees on top. But let's be honest, this entire service is about providing ads. It's very commercially oriented. But for users, it's important to remember that buying is a fundamental part of doing something. You can't go to Thailand unless you buy a plane ticket. You can't work on your bathroom renovation unless you go to a Home Depot or an Ace. Our mission is to try to inspire, to learn, to explore, and to help people to do things that they love. And so much of the work that we're trying to uncover is the opportunities that will ultimately move people from doing something and thinking about something to doing action, and ultimately build on the promise that AI will be life-changing. So that's the presentation. Thank you so much. Happy to take questions. Yes.
So when you were talking about the utility thresholding, do you ever allow that to change over time? Like maybe some utility function changes for today, for hangry, before dinner.
Yeah. Let me. I feel like we're getting into the dark area of ads here a little bit. There is a time period where it does change, and it's specifically in Q4. And the reason for this is because there's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, people buy things for the holidays and things like that. There's this thing called auction hacking in some ways. So basically, people will modify the auction slightly so that it actually sends more ads. Now, it kind of makes sense in a way because people are more buying stuff during that time, so ads can be an important conduit. Advertisers pay through the roof during this time period, primarily because there's so much competition for people to buy stuff. So the floor can change during that time period in Q4, primarily because the competitive dynamics during that time are very unique. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
You talked a lot about in ranking people using metrics to try to get as many ads in there as possible. Do you have any thoughts about the structure of your own company and preventing those kinds of incentives in the future?
Yeah. So let me make sure that I understand this correctly. You were asking if there's any mechanisms or metrics that we'll use to basically prevent people from sending bad ads or anything like that, or?
Well, if you're at a large company, your supervisor says, okay, we need better metrics because my boss told me to do that. So what can you do to do that right now?
So the important so for example, when we're at Pins, the company was divided into two pieces. One part is actually the organic content, and the other part is the monetization content. And if you launch something, and ultimately it's going to impact the organic engagement that people are having on the platform, ultimately you're going to make short-term wins for long-term losses. So for me, the most important thing is that I care about the long-term value. I want to help the businesses that we work with to be successful, and that means creating incredibly engaging content for their people. If they do that, that means they come back more. They stay on longer. They can consume more ads. But it's important to do it in an ethical and responsible way. Obviously, we need to make money so that we can survive as a business, but equivalently, we cannot forget the user experience because ultimately those are the people that we're trying to connect to. So for me, making the business that we're working with successful from an organic standpoint is the first and foremost priority for me. Making money from that is only a way to support that mission. But our mission is basically to help people to do things they love. Yeah.
So we talk a lot about profitable spaces and commercial products, but the same concept could be applied to less revenue generating things, for self-help or something like that as well, right? Or directing people to services. You brought up the query of oh, why am I sad, right? But on a larger scope, right? This idea of using people with local services.
Yeah, so the question is that we talked a lot about products. There's also opportunities for potentially services. So one example of that could be Well, a person's asking about challenges in mental health, there could be recommendations for a clinic that's nearby. This is, I think, an important element too, is that providing opportunities for nonprofit organizations. So for example, like if people are asking about things like suicide, having connections and being able to provide links and support and embedded links for that is actually really important. We can actually even go one step further. Like the purpose of this business is not just to also insert ads, but it's also to move people to do things. And when a person is going through mental health distress, and this is something that was related to the previous company I was working in, there are opportunities to convince people and move people to maybe a goal that they have in mind. Maybe it's getting out of bed. Maybe that's being able to go out with their friends. Maybe that's running that marathon that they wanted to always do. A lot of the technology here, we're hoping that can help people achieve those visions. Obviously, we have to start in a place where there's a niche, but I think there's an exciting opportunity in the ability of LLMs to convince people to do things and motivate them. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for your time and your presentation. I wanted to ask you, how do you know your customer? Because Google knows that I love hiking because I asked it 6 months ago something about hiking, so they can create a profile on me. How do you know your customer with that depth?
So we're an API service. So the people that work with us are startups or other people trying to create chatbots. So when they partner with us, we have access to all of their users and all of their chat histories. And through all of their chat histories, we learn about them. Sometimes those companies are really good at building user representations and building user stories and narratives. Some companies are not, they don't have the team, they don't have the bandwidth. Now, the things that they do on the platform is only one piece of the story. It tells you how they're thinking, how they're ideating. It doesn't tell you what they've done. You ultimately need the second half, which is the actions they take on the advertiser's website. So if you're, let's say you want to go to a cafe in Barcelona, if it gives you recommendations for a cafe and you get an ad for Belkin, be like, hey, maybe you need an external charger if you're going to be there for a long time. If you go to the Belkin website and you purchase it, if I don't know that you purchased it, I'm not going to know that you took action. I'm not going to know that's something that's important to you that you would actually give up your money to do. So you need both pieces. So ads businesses are built on not just understanding the user, it's also knowing what they've done. And that latter part is actually really tough because of the privacy compliance that's occurring right now. So there's also unique opportunities in that for this, but that's a good question. I like that. Yes. There's no one behind you.
Thanks, John, for your presentation. My question is, where do you think the ad market's going? Right now, it's a 750 billion, like close to 800 billion market. But if users start to use LLMs to do their search, they're not going to go on Google and click on like 10 different links, and that means they're going to have less exposure to banner ads and maybe to like search ads. So do you think ads are going to become more expensive for advertisers? Yes. And if the total market size is going to shrink in the future?
Yes, I really like that question, so let me repeat it for everyone. The question is basically that there could be a trend that people are using search less, and as a result, it means that because people are using things like generative search, does that mean that ads need to be more expensive in order to make up for volume? The answer to that is it's so tricky to answer because there is a trade-off between the volume and the price. So, for example, when I went on the trip in Italy with my best friend, my conversion rate was like 100%. And the idea that people can convert at a really high level in LLMs, I'm not sure if anyone has done anything like a recipe or have asked recommendations for ChatGPT. If you think to yourself what your likelihood of doing something that is recommending a little edit that you made for your report or something like that, the likelihood that you take a recommendation from that, I think is higher. And I don't think it's just a little bit higher, I think it's a lot higher. So because the conversion rates are higher, the opportunity for higher value items, this could be luxury items, this could be trips, this could be booking and reservation, huge opportunity for that in advertisement. But like things that are, you know, cheaper like fashion, like certain fashion items, it might be a little bit trickier. But I think like ads in the programmatic space is a huge environment. This is a new channel. So guys, like beyond the stuff that we're working on here, there are a lot of opportunities beyond this to integrate with the technology. So it's a good question, and it is something that could constrain the ads market. Yeah. Yes.
So what do you think about ads verification businesses? Like advertisers hire verification companies to verify if their ads are properly delivered, but with all the technologies that you mentioned, do advertisers really need them?
So the question is about the utility of ads verification businesses. I think there's a utility for them for brand safety, and I think there's a utility for them for measurement and tracking. A lot of times, like ad, you know, can you imagine you pay like $10,000 and your ad doesn't display properly? You'd be pretty pissed off. Or if the link is broken, I can't tell you how many ads that I've seen where like somebody would send an ad from like Amazon and there's no inventory left. No one's going to convert on it if there's no inventory. So actually having some sort of verification process does have utility still, I think. Yes.
Yeah, I just had a question on kind of the integrity of responses in terms of when you are serving ads from companies maybe that they want to pay more for an ad, or maybe smaller companies provide a better service but they can't pay such a large amount of money to get their ads put on your platform. Is there kind of like a balancing act between you know, like helping those companies and then making sure you're giving a good
so the question is about like the discrepancy in the budgets between small and medium businesses or SMBs and like larger companies like field advertisers like Walmart, Home Depot, things like that, who are spending millions and millions of dollars. Obviously from the platform side, the people who are controlling the distribution, no one wants to see like all the, they don't want to see like ads from like Home Depot and Walmart and Amazon all the time. They want like that boutique bag that is like no one has, like Polen or something like that, or Monsieur Gabriel, something that's like not like, you know, Louis Vuitton or whatever. You want something that's a little bit more niche, and when it's more niche, it seems like it's more unique to you. So in the utility function, we have to add in also diversity. And the second is, if you're a new advertiser, obviously we don't want to just throw you in the ring. We want to give you like a shot. So the way that we do that is we add subsidies. So new companies, new ads, they get a little bit of an edge so that they can get a jump start to get that traction. If you don't do that, they'll basically just sink to the bottom. They won't be able to swim with the other fish. Yeah. We're getting close on time here, so I think that we're gonna have to cut off, but thank you guys so much for your questions. We have one announcement, I'm thinking. Okay.
Thank you so much. Great, and if you don't mind sticking around, there may be some more questions for afterwards. All right, okay, Mahesh.
All right, Sean, that was awesome. I love ad space.
It worked.
All right, I'm just gonna turn off the Bluetooth. Okay. All right, go for it.
All right, so ad space, to drive all these ads, what do you need? We are a data science group. What do we need? Data. All right. So that's what I'm going to talk about here, only for 5 minutes. No? So to drive all these businesses, you need data. We already know about data engineering concentration. Few of you have expressed some interest, some confidence that you want to do data engineering extension. Some of you know about data engineering, but don't know you are sure about going for that particular extension. And many of you are like, I need more information, right? We have these 3 different buckets. I'm here to help you. We as a faculty are here to help you make that choice when the time is right. So we do have some events lined up during the next few weeks, few months. We will host some seminars about cloud computing. I will host a more detailed information about data engineering, what it entails, why you should try doing data engineering. And then from next week onwards, I'll have more one-on-one office hours for you folks. If you're interested, come and talk to me about data engineering, the path in data engineering, and then you can make that particular conscious choice. We are lifelong learners, so I hope to see and talk to you about data engineering. That was just my 5-minute speech. 3 minutes, 2 minutes?
You did great. Less than 5. Less than 5. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you to our external guests. Thank you, students. Thank you once more to Sean and to Mahesh. We will see you all soon.